Yo yo yiggity yo, Cypher here with a quick tutorial. Well, I shouldn't say quick, it's going to be pretty in depth, but a tutorial nonetheless on how to build a PC and where to start if you really don't know. Um, I've been building my PC and upgrading this bad boy since 3 years ago, probably like 2012, 2013-ish. Um, and when I first built it, I'd only spent around $600-700, so that's probably the basis for where you want to go. I mean, you can build a $400 PC, especially with price for performance these days. But I'm going to start us off around the $600-700 mark because you can run pretty much any AAA title on that at pretty much high or ultra settings with tweaking of a few minor things. But I'm going to show you my build first, what I currently have, and the price point that this is sitting at. And then I'm going to go through some different websites that I buy parts from. And I'm also going to go through PC Part Picker and build like a test PC for like roughly $600 and show you guys how it works. So to start, we are going to show off my PC. Now this is a software that's called Cam. Now let me get rid of my webcam here. This software is called Cam. It shows your desktop. It shows a bunch of the temperature and load graphs. It does a lot. It does everything. It does everything you could ever want from something like this. On the left here, you can see my build. I have an AMD FX 9590, NVIDIA GTX 1070, 32 gigs of RAM. This is the motherboard I used that would fit this slot that matches. This is just a standard drive. There's nothing fancy about it. It's not solid state or anything, but it is a terabyte. And then I have liquid cooling in my PC for this processor. Blah, 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 blah. This processor specifically. Now the reason I do this processor specifically for cooling is because it is notorious for huge heat outputs. Now, like if we look at this graph here, let me go to the small one dashboard. Here we go. So right now it's running around like 24 degrees Celsius with a 15% load. Now this is the average CPU for all 8 cores of my processor. The max it's gotten up to today was around 27 degrees Celsius. Now I don't think that's just recently. I think that's polled. Let's go advanced day week. Yeah, so on average it runs at 30 degrees Celsius with on average, I should say, it runs around 30 degrees Celsius under high loads. That's under with recording software, and with that's also with recording software. Games at max settings like Battlefield 1, Titanfall 2. As you can see down here, the max it went up to is 51 degrees Celsius. Now, I mean, granted, not all of you know Celsius, so let's switch this to Fahrenheit so you guys can see the changes. We're looking at roughly 125 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's fucking hot. That's very hot for a processor. And that's even under liquid cooling, maximum temperature at 125. If it gets anywhere near that, my whole computer locks up. Now that's very rare. As you can see, like these are still around 100 degrees Celsius, which is very hot, very, very hot. But my computer can kind of handle that. I've been built to handle that. Where you want to be seeing your computer run around is probably around like 30 to 40 degrees, like 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, which is roughly like, God, I can't do math, around like what it's at like right now, for example. Like 82 degrees, 75 degrees is pretty good temperature under minimal load. Under no load at all, you should be seeing temperatures upwards of like 40, 50 degrees Celsius. Like right now, my GPU is fucking crazy. That shit's working hard for some reason, but that's just because I just got done with playing a bunch of Battlefield and Titanfall 2, so it's still cooling down. This could be avoided by having a good case that has a lot of good ventilation, and also having it in a spot that it's not backed up against a wall, it's not under a desk, it has good ventilation. Right now, I only have 2 fans in this running. The other 2 fans are liquid cooling. Now I do want to have, when I get to my new place, I'm thinking about upgrading the case, maybe to get a full size. Right now I have a mid tower, but get a full size, put some more fans in it, get some more airflow going through, stuff like that. But that's not what you're here to see. Um, I was just using my PC as an example. Um, what you came here to see was PC part picker, right? And some things I've found. So I'm going to put in the link below. On Imager, I had found this PC Master Race builds from $300 to $1,800. And it goes through like a budget saying if you have a $600 budget, here's the case you want, here's this and that. Let me split the screens here and show you guys what I'm talking about. Now, if you can actually search, see all completed builds. You can search builds and say like this $600 one here. I'm pretty sure if I go YQMNTW, is that not a thing? No? Well, this is link code. It must be add the code in the link part to the guides. Okay, so it's in the guides. I'm going to put this in the description down below. This goes through very in-depth about different processors, different CPUs. I'm going to touch on lightly what it is. And I'm going to go through each of some of the stats and explain what they mean in relation to gaming and in relation to processing power and stuff like that. So this is going to be in the description down below. I'll let you guys go through it. I'm going to touch on it just a little bit here and there. So I'm going to keep that off screen for now so I can reference it. But let's start a build. You always want to build your computer around a motherboard. When you do that, it makes sure that all your slots are right, all of your memory is right, and all of your pin counts are correct. And it's easy to build around a motherboard. That's just my personal recommendation. Now, the way PC Parts Picker works, if we go back here, you can see all the parts. Now, certain things you don't need, like I'm going to be building a lower end budget PC, so I'm going to say minimums for everything. And I'm going to try to keep it so that you can upgrade it later without having to replace a lot of parts, because I just ran into that where I tried upgrading my PC, ended up putting a new motherboard and CPU in, ended up not having enough power for it, and it wasn't running properly. And then when I got my new graphics card, there was a tunnel between that and the memory in the case, the RAM. So I'm going to start with the motherboard, then I'm going to work my way down and go through the CPU and go from there. So it doesn't really matter if you're really looking to save some money. You want to go AMD. AMD is always very, very good, and they do a very, very good job. And when you want to build an AMD PC, which is mine's an AMD computer, and I've spent quite a bit of money into it, and I love AMD to bits, and I can't wait to see their new stuff come out in the beginning of January, which I'll get into in a little bit here. But if you're looking for a low-end PC and you want to go AMD, check off the AMD chipset. That means you'll be able to fit an AMD processor in there. That's the only thing it means, is that you can fit an AMD processor in there. Now, the form factor, the ATX, Micro ATX, Mini ITX, that's just for the case size. ATX will fit most cases from mid-range and up. Anything smaller than mid-range, you probably want to go with a Micro ATX. You may be able to fit an ATX board in there, but it's going to be real cramped. My recommendation is going mid-size tower. It offers really good wiring capabilities, and they offer some really cool cases for it as well. So go here, sort by price. Look at this right here, this top one. Or we'll go, since we're building ATX, we'll go here. It's got 3 stars, max RAM 64 gigs, $60. It's really not that bad. So you click on it, you can see what it looks like, you can see where you can get it from, what stores have it. You can see more in-depth price histories, and stuff like that. But you can see here that it seemed to get a good review from these people saying, oh, these had a bad review, took a jump, got it, it was fantastic, great. Some things to pay attention to are is the memory type. I use DDR3. I know there's DDR4 and DDR5. Those are relatively new, and motherboards for those are going to be much, I wouldn't say much more expensive, but decently more expensive than something like this. So you look at that, you say DDR3, so that means you know what RAM you want to go with. Everything else just fits. Is you really don't have to worry about that. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna add this to the parts list. Um, Here, takes us back. You can see it's gonna start a running total down here. Shows how much it's gonna be for mail-in rebates and stuff like that. So after that, we're gonna go with CPU, and it automatically sorts. It automatically sorts based on your part list already. It shows what parts you have here on the left, the estimated wattage, and it shows the current part list. Boom. Fantastic. So part compatibility filter says, okay, any of these graphics cards here will work with this specific motherboard. When picking a processor, you don't want to go too far behind, and you don't want to go too forward either. You want to find a good middle ground. And depending on what you do, let's see, I'm just taking a look at something. Somewhere that I wouldn't recommend skipping out on is your processor and your graphics card, especially if you want to be in it for gaming, high-end coding for with like really high processing, streaming and stuff like that. You're going to need a somewhat beefy processor and a beefy GPU to handle that load. So it looks like I would go with the AMD. What is this one? The 7670, I think it was. 7670, right here. Add that to the thing. Now, granted, 104 might seem a lot, but in the end, you're not going to regret, because you'll be able to keep that part in there for like a year and a half, 2 years, maybe even longer if you don't want to replace it all that often. Now the problem with going like the cheap motherboard like this instead of going with an expensive one, when you upgrade, you might have to upgrade your motherboard. And at that point, you're going to have to look at chipsets again and make sure that your CPU matches that new motherboard. This one obviously doesn't come with a heatsink or anything with that, so I would recommend getting one. Just a just a regular heatsink like this, something small that you can stick on there and it'll keep your PC nice and cool. And for 25 bucks, it's really not going to add a lot to the overall thing, the overall cost. So we're going to look at the video card next because that's the next most expensive thing. Now the 1060s are fantastic. They spec just below the Titan X and they're real cheap. And I'm saying real cheap, but I mean they're very, very affordable. Same with the 1050 Ti's. They're very good for the price that they're at. So I would recommend going with a 1050 or 1060. If you're willing to spend a little more, go with the 1070. The 1080 is great. It's fantastic, but for the price you're going to pay for it, you're looking at $630. I paid $400 and some for mine when I got my GTX 1070. So we're going to go with the 1060 here, or the 1050 Ti. I think it was actually, I was thinking it was this one here. The 1050 Ti is very good. It has 4 gigs of memory. The memory type is GD. This here, that's just the graphics memory. It's not the same as the DDR5, DDR3 memory that you'd put in there for your RAM. So we're gonna add that to the inventory. And that should run any sort of AAA titles very smoothly around medium to high settings. Go back. You freaking out on me here? What's going on? Where'd it go? 1050 Ti, $150. So right now we're sitting at 300. I'm gonna build it cheap, as cheap as I can go at decent, and then what I'll do is I'll go back and say, okay, we have a $600 budget. I'm gonna make a minimum thing here for you guys that you can hit that $600 budget with some more upgraded parts. We're looking at DDR3 memory, and we want like I would say around 8 gigs is probably minimum. So anything, you don't have to go crazy with it. Memory's cheap anymore. So if you wanted to double that, you absolutely could. Uh, I definitely would recommend starting with a terabyte, especially with a regular. This is actually the one I have, very similar. And Western Digital is a very good brand as well. So we're going to add the terabyte hard drive to it as well. And right now we're sitting at a total of around $430. Um, we're going to go with a mid-size case. We don't want anything too expensive. Mid-tower, like something like this. You're going to spend 30 bucks. It's simple. It's not too complicated. Now, if you're looking for lights or anything special like that, you can always spend $600 on a case and get something crazy. Um, but I would not recommend that at all. So we're probably gonna go with something like this. Corsair, good brand. It's got a good rating. Where'd it go? 40 bucks. Really not bad. It gets a really cool look with it. And the power supply. Right now we're sitting. Let's take a look. Right now we're sitting at 280 watts. Never go below 750, especially if you want to upgrade to something bigger later. And power supplies are pretty good. So I would say, let's see, let's sort by watts. Let's get somewhere a little under 1,000. And then you do want to pay attention to this, the 80 plus platinum, 80 plus gold. That's the efficiency rating of it. Something like that is important to say how long it's going to last. If you want a decently good one, you want to go platinum. If you want meh one, go bronze. If you want middle of the road, you go gold. But for now, we'll just say we'll add in. Let's go back by price again, and we'll say go to the third page because I want to be somewhere right here. It's modular. That's good. It's got a good rating. Comes with cables, semi-modular. This guy says was a bad choice. I have a modular one or a semi-modular one, and it makes it so much easier for cable management. So this guy obviously doesn't know shit, but I'm telling you, modular makes it so much easier to get your cable management down pat and fantastic. So for a 1,000 watt one, where did it go? Right here, 80 bucks. Not bad for 1,000 watts. I bought a refurbished one from Corsair. Not a big deal. You really don't need an optical drive since everything is pretty digital anymore. You don't need an operating system. I lied. You do, but you don't have to buy it. You don't have to purchase it. Especially with the cost of it, it adds a lot. So you can always you can always rip one from somewhere or get a download. But if you are looking to buy one, I would say go with Windows 10 Home. Nothing crazy, and especially since we're around that $630 mark. Monitor, external storage, peripherals, accessories, stuff like that. You really don't need because the case is going to come with fans and stuff like that. So I'm going to go back through this and I'm going to recap things that I would recommend upgrading. The CPU is probably okay for this $600 build. The motherboard is good. It's based around everything, especially because it has discounts and stuff like that. It even includes shipping and tax for some things, not all of them. You probably could drop down to 6 gigs, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would say keep around 8. That's fine. Terabyte is always good. I have not filled mine yet. It's definitely possible too, though, especially if I downloaded all of my Steam games. I know it would be pretty damn close, and I have like 130 Steam games or something like that. Power supply I could always go down with. I know I'm saying 1,000 watt, but I could always just go and say, you know what, we're gonna go back in and we're gonna reduce the power supply because that added quite a bit. So right now this is by rating. I would say if we were to go 750 watt. Where was it? I saw one on here before that was a really good price for the 750 watt. Right here, Corsair, 70 bucks. fantastic. It's not modular, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But once you do that, once you make this, it shows you the price that it changes over time. You can plan things out. You can favorite this, and then you can buy parts list. Now this is the recommended wattage. I'm just saying let's go a little higher, especially if you're gonna have case fans, extra case fans. If you ever wanted to add in liquid cooling, or or bigger CPU or bigger processor, stuff like that, you would want a bigger thing like that. So I'm just building this build um, as an upgrade to as a starter, $600 starter. Now they also go and say in the guides here, like for example, I'll just pull up this guy's $600 build. I'm pretty sure he says just by doing this YQMNTW. Right here, $600 solid gaming station. And he goes in here and he says blah blah blah. Here's the parts. Comes to $694. Ours was around $630. Processors are similar. The graphics cards are very similar. He's using DDR4 and he's using the same terabyte hard drive I picked, but he's not using any of the newer upgraded graphics cards, and he's spending a little more than what you would for the 1050 Ti or the 1060. He's using a 550 watt just to save some money, which is a good idea. I mean, it's always good to say, oh, buy cheap case, buy cheap power supply just for the minimum amount, because again, both of those are really cheap. But we're going to move on to some sites that I know that I bought stuff from that I know are trustworthy. I'll put the links in the description below. That way you guys can see some of this stuff and find some places that you can buy. Now, again, and Amazon is always a great place. I buy almost everything from Tiger Direct. They're very good. The pricing is very good. Their customer support is very nice. I've had a couple issues where things came in broken. They sent me a new one as long as they sent the old one back. It was fantastic. The next one I want to talk about is Newegg. Now, you guys might know a lot of these, but great site. They have great keyboards, hard drives, all that stuff on here that you could ever want. One thing I do recommend, though, and sometimes CPUs come with it already attached, but make sure you buy thermal compound. You could ruin a CPU if you don't have enough thermal compound on your CPU. It could burn it out, and that's never a good thing. Micro Center, they have online and in-store ordering. I bought, as you can see, here's my processor and all my cooling stuff and some other different stuff I bought through there throughout the years. But they have really cool deals. They have like clearance on computer parts and stuff like that. So if you're looking for like, look at this, like an external DVD drive or anything like that, they would have some pretty good deals on them. I know, let's see some of the change the store. These are where the store locations are. I go to this one, the Philadelphia St. David's one. I'm pretty sure they're only United States thing. So for anyone overseas, this is not going to go for you. They do not do online shipping. I don't believe so anyway. They might do it from the web store, but I'll check that for you now, just so I'm not giving you the wrong thing. So yeah, it looks like they do shipping. I'm not sure how it works. Usually ships in 1 to 3 business days. Yeah, okay. So you just pick your shipping and billing address and all that jazz. Now, I'm going to show you Massdrop. Now, Massdrop is probably one of my favorite sites ever, strictly because of the communities they have. They have a bunch of different communities, which makes it really easy to come on and find some really cool stuff to build your PC. For example, 1070, $400, 30 people purchased it. It's fantastic. You got 2 hours. It shows how much it is. It got breakdown for the infrastructure, stuff like that. You can buy mechanical keys, monitors, mounts. They have a bunch of cool stuff. I bought this chair off of here. They do a lot of cool PC parts. Another cool thing they do is polls. Like you can come in here and you can say, oh, I want a specific graphic card. Like here, budget graphic cards. So people will put on here and you can vote for them. And once you vote for them, once they get a certain number of votes, which I think is 300, once they guarantee that 300 people are going to buy, they put it up. So they do a lot of stuff like that. Another cool thing they have is like mechanical keyboards and mechanical keyboard parts, like switch testers and all that jazz. Really cool site. I'll put the link down below. And if we have a bunch of purchases from here, or a bunch of people sign up and a bunch of people purchase, then both of us get a gift basket with a bunch of random stuff from it. But granted, your keyboards really aren't that important in the long run. A lot of it, you can just use a wireless keyboard or bring over a keyboard you already have from an old PC, stuff like that. So it's not anything super crazy. They do offer a lot. Like all of my communities are those there, especially the audiophile ones. I love headphones and DACs and amps and stuff like that. But that's all I have to show you. I'm going to throw this in the description down below for you guys to see. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at cypher.gaming@gmail.com. I'll gladly answer any of your questions. I'll walk you through a build. I don't mind jumping on a Skype call with you to say, yeah, let's build it together, stuff like that. I really don't mind helping you. I want more people to start playing PC games, especially since that's the way everything's going with Xbox saying you can now play all of our Xbox games through the Microsoft Store. That's incredible. PlayStation's probably going to do the same, and especially with the way VR and AR and augmented reality and all that jazz, which is AR. I don't know why I repeated myself, but when all that stuff is said and done, PC is going to be where it's going to be going. And having something that you can upgrade and take care of and love over a long period of time, and especially as a little hobby, it is a lot of fun, especially when you're in a lot of groups and a lot of friends who do it as well. It's something that you guys can bond over, and it's a lot of fun. I do recommend it. It's one of my favorite things to do. This is one of my favorite things to turn on when I get into my apartment in the morning. What I'll do after this is I'll show you the inside of my board. I think I actually have I might have that on my computer already, but when I do a new setup tour, you'll see my monitors and everything. I want to mount them, and I'm going to have a separate room for it. It's going to be great. And we're going to start really getting back into YouTube and stuff like that. But if you guys have any questions about building a PC, link it in the comments below. Link your parts. Link your questions. I want to know. I want to see. I want to be able to help you guys. I have a network of friends, especially as a software engineer. I have a group of coworkers that all know a bunch of stuff about it. I'm always trying to keep up to date on the newest technology and try to keep it in my computer here just because I like to do that, especially with phones like this. I bought the Pixel recently, which is fantastic. But if you guys have any questions, again, feel free to link it in the comments below. Thanks again for showing up, and I'll see all of you in the next video, which should be coming out on Friday. It's going to be Titanfall 2 campaign part 2. I hope you guys can watch it, and I probably will be streaming on Thursday, whatever the fuck I feel like. So if you want me to see something, if you want me to see me play something, link me, message me, email me, whatever you want to do. Take it on my Twitter handle. I will link the Twitter in the description below, and feel free. Again, thanks again, guys. If you have any questions, I'll talk to you later. Have a great night.